What's up, IU City Soccer fam? Welcome back to another week where the Dash are finally back after an international break, which saw several players um, represent their countries. They're all here, and we now get to see another game in NWSL action where your Dash is going to play against the NC Courage at home. And with every week comes a new enemy to scout. And today we've got a really special guest here. Not just somebody who's played at the NC Courage Academy for a good number of years, but a good friend of mine that also plays here at Fordham. For those who do remember that I do still go here, everyone give a warm welcome to the one, the only Kit Ovsievsky. Kit, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. This is awesome. Super happy to be here.
Oh yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. Before we start, if you would like to, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, that way everyone down south can get to know you a little, and can kind of see where your head's at.
Yeah, so I'm Kit. I'm from North Carolina, Cary, North Carolina to be exact. Um, like Diego said, I played for the Courage Academy for about 7 years. So yeah, they kind of brought me up into the soccer world and stuff. And yeah, it's just such a great program and stuff. And they helped me find my new home here at Fordham, which I'm loving being in New York and everything. It's been a super great opportunity and experience. And yeah, I'm super grateful for everything that Courage has gotten me to.
Well, I'm certainly happy to hear that because now you're here playing at Fordham. But I guess today we'll be talking a little bit about um, back at your roots with the NC Courage. Um, Firstly, this is a game which kind of few people really expected from the Dash side. You could see a lot of dysfunction within the Courage last year with the firing of their coach and a lot of players moving and shifting. Do you think that the ripples of those things are still going on this year, or do you kind of see this Courage team kind of turning a new leaf?
Yeah, so I think it definitely like plays a role a little bit and stuff. Like obviously coming from the firing of their head coach and having to kind of shift everything, will probably have them shaken up a little bit. Especially if the season didn't end the way that they were expecting it to or they wanted it to. Um, and it can affect like confidence and consistency within the team and stuff. But I think at the same time, they rely a lot on their system of possession and kind of keeping the ball. So I think it's more about just finding their rhythm within their team and with all of their new players, like you were saying, with all of their players being shifted around and stuff, and having those new players come in and kind of join that rhythm. And it's kind of just about finding that consistency and containing that consistency back again from game to game.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I mean, I would label, especially with it being so early in the season, it's kind of been working and kind of like regaining that form. I mean, the Courage just came from a draw against the Portland Thorns, which are doing phenomenally. I don't know if you've gotten to hear about my predictions throughout the year. I thought they weren't going to do so hot, but but I mean, definitely you see kind of this group kind of like forming and growing throughout the season. So I would expect them to definitely be better later rather than sooner. But they still find themselves in between two strong teams from last year in Gotham and also KC Current as they currently stand 12th. But with like with that transitioning period, you get some interesting crossovers like new head or not new anymore, but um, year two head coach Fabrice Catrat, which used to be an assistant for NC Courage, but also a Houston Dash player, which unfortunately will not be playing in this game, but Natalie Jacobs now at NC Courage. Do you feel like those kinds of storylines kind of make these kinds of games more interesting, or do you see it kind of being irrelevant when you're kind of sitting there in the locker room like trying to get a win at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, winning is obviously at the end of the day, like utmost important for all of these teams and stuff. But I think definitely having those little like inner rivalries and stuff, and kind of even for the Dash, Malia Berkeley coming in from the Courage and stuff and playing for them. I feel like they're definitely going to be having that sort of like, yeah, like rivalry almost, even like on the field. And I would expect there to be some kind of more of a want from the players that are coming and the coaches that are coming from these different teams and then playing against their old former team, that they just want to kind of show that they're where they need to be and that they're with the better team almost. And so, yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit of that like rivalry, and it'll definitely make the game more interesting and more competitive.
Yeah, and you saw that with another player that made that switch within NWSL teams, Paige Nielsen, as her first return um, when the Dash played Angel City was, I think I would have to say, the most unbelievable game of soccer I've ever witnessed, where she scored like a 90th minute winner at Angel City, again, like right behind the fans. It was a heartbreaker for them, and it was a like legacy maker for Houston. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at Houston, which hasn't made the playoffs in 5 years now, and they've only made it once in their 10, 11 years of existence. Do you think, from what you've seen of Houston, do you think that, that'll change this year?
Yeah, I mean, definitely with their newer players, some of their younger players, especially coming from even like back home North Carolina, like Duke and UNC, those players, um, kind of coming in and bring the team up a little bit more. I think they're definitely becoming more of an attacking team, and getting into those transitioning moments will definitely be helping them throughout a lot of their games and stuff. So I could definitely see them being a team to watch, and I think they honestly are as of the beginning of this 2026 season.
Yeah, I think they are genuinely, from watching Dash seasons in the past, the run of their lives. I think if they can keep this momentum, especially with players like Kiki Van Zanten, which is, if I remember correctly, still leading the league in goals. As a midfielder, you keep doing that. If it works, you keep doing that. But shifting from Dash players to kind of note, obviously, no no Nat Jacobs, so that'll be definitely a loss. But do you think there are some players, maybe three players, that you would know from the Courage's start to the season that might play a role in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely Ashley Sanchez has just been one of the star players for the team, um, just even in previous, but I think she's going to be a big one. She's a big leader on the field and bringing that creativity to help break those teams down to push forward and stuff is going to be a big one for them. And then I'd also say Kaylin Sheridan in goal, obviously having a goalie switch from Casey Murphy was a bit of a shift and stuff, just because Casey has been with the team for so long, and then having to bring Kaylin Sheridan in from San Diego. Um, but I think she's fantastic and she's very reliable, especially when it comes down to those last minutes that they need to either hold on or get a goal. She'll help keep them in the games for sure. And then I also think, kind of bringing up more of a younger side, I think Riley Jackson has been incredible for them. And I think she's obviously one of the younger ones on the team, but I think she really brings more of an older presence and a more mature presence on the field with a great energy. And she really just helps the midfield and brings them together and help them possess and attack against those more stronger defensive teams.
Do you see this Courage team as still like a rebuilding side, or do you kind of see that this team really seriously putting themselves in positions where I would label most people on the outside would be surprised to see them in, one being the playoffs? But I'm curious to see kind of what you're feeling about, because from what I've kind of paid attention to the Courage, it's all been very okay. It's all been very okay. I don't know
Yeah.
whether you're thinking of the Courage in terms of this is a rebuilding squad, or they should be pushing for playoffs, or for different things like that. So what do you feel like is the best place to put the Courage in as it stands?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I feel like they have had definitely their ups and downs, especially even coming into this season as well. Um, but I would say, I mean, I think they are in a bit of a rebuilding process just because they lost so many of their strong like leaders that they have had for so many years on the field. But I think every year, even if it is more of a rebuilding year, something like that, I think every year they're trying to make a push for the playoffs and they're not going to just back off of that just because it is more of either younger players or less experienced players or just players from different teams coming in and they're having to kind of make those connections and gel a little bit. Um, and that takes some time, obviously, but I think every year they're trying to make that push for the playoffs, and I don't think we should count them out of this year either.
I, I, w- I would be fair to agree with that. I would be able to agree with that. I still think that like looking at how competitive the NWSL is, seeing teams like Gotham and KC Current be at the very lower parts of the standings, you can like say, hey, we're here already with these teams that won the NWSL last year and got the best regular season record ever. Um, why can't we compete for a playoff spot? But it's also that understanding of like we're thinking of a full season, and I think when looking at this Courage team, you're kind of expecting them to get better as they go. But
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is that kind of hope of like hopefully they get better as the it's the same thing with I feel like Houston, but in a different perspective of right now we're seeing the Dash on fire, and the hope is I hope they don't completely implode. And from like what I've seen about Fabrice Catrat and everything that's been going on with the team, I have confidence in saying we're going to make the playoffs. But it definitely is good to hear that on your end you see this Courage team be competitive.
Yeah.
Um, but I think, like you mentioned, it's fair to say that they are currently in a rebuilding phase. Another team that the Dash played recently that is in kind of that transition phase as well is Racing Louisville. This was a game where I don't know if you watched the game, but the Dash could have came in with a little more, I would say, urgency as they were facing that rebuilding side, and they couldn't really put their foot on the ground as the score ended up being 4-3, and it just was kind of a crazy game. Do you see this Courage team posing similar problems in Houston where you're expecting a rebuilding team and then you have a couple of punches in your arsenal and Houston's unable to really deal with that?
Yeah, so I think honestly for this game it kind of comes down to tempo and kind of like how which team hits the ground running faster. So Houston's obviously very strong in their transition and stuff, especially with them being at home in front of their home crowd and stuff. The energy is going to be electric. But if Courage loses the ball in bad positions, that could hurt them. But if North Carolina is able to kind of hone in and settle and control their possession, especially in the midfield, they're going to be much harder to break down. And Houston's going to have a more difficult time getting those opportunities and those chances on goal.
Yeah, I think yeah. Along with that, I think especially since Houston's really struggled with transitional play on the defensive end, you saw uh earlier in the season the top of the table game where they played Angel City, and in 2 minutes they conceded 2 goals because of that inability to really defend the transition. The moment speed or as you mentioned, just like tempo shifted, the Dash were kind of a little slow to kind of adjust. And I think this will be a great game. I'm expecting some goals. I called it last time for the Racing Louisville game, and I was thankful to get it. But I'm curious to see what your where your head's at, and see if you got a little score prediction for us.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's going to be a battle. Like, I wouldn't, like, I'm obviously going to be in favor of Courage winning. But so, but I think it's going to be a close game. Like I think it's probably going to come down to honestly attacking transition and kind of how quickly teams that when they're able to force turnovers, they're able to kind of get their feet under the ball and go forward and press and continue that momentum. So I'm gonna go with I think it's gonna be 3-1. Courage are gonna take it.
That's a score line.
I
That's a score
think,
line.
yeah,
Because
I have faith in them. I think it's gonna be, I think it's gonna, they're gonna do really well. I have a lot of faith in them.
I think the lack of Nat Jacobs is really, really, really making me not want to push for a Courage result.
Yeah,
I think this is the kind of game where Houston desperately needs to win because this is, I would make the argument, a game they need to win against an opponent that has typically had the upper hand in this. The Courage historically has been a team Houston struggled against.
yeah,
I remember last year Patterson, got an incredible goal in the first couple minutes against you guys, in the rain, and then you guys were able to just pull ahead. And so I think this is a game that I feel like Houston needs to look at this must win. And unfortunately for you, I think they are going to get that. I think it's going to be a 2-0, just flat out. Just I think the rookies are going to continue their form. I think we're going to get goals from Cat Raider and maybe a fifth from Kiki. I don't know, but I do see it being 2-0.
okay, well, we'll see.
We'll definitely see. But Kit, thank you so much for hopping on. It was great to hear your insights about everything North Carolina, and hopefully you guys get a favorable result in Houston. I'm pretty sure it's going to be raining, so
Mm.
that's not going to be fun for either team. But it is definitely fun to have you on the pod and to talk with you and chat with you about this.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. It was awesome. Glad I was able to come on.
Yeah, of course. Well, Bayou City Soccer fam, be sure to not just watch this recap or preview of the game, but also be sure to tune into the game. It's Saturday at Shell Energy Stadium. Get your tickets, support your dash, and make sure to either say hi to any of the BCS fam or any of the players as they normally show a great love to the fans after the game. Like Kit said, it is going to be electric, and I look forward to seeing all of you there, even if I will spiritually not be there. But that's all for me today, and I look forward to talking post game.